Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 31 of the Clutch Dump. Nicholas Patty here, Ben Walther sitting opposite. Guys, this is the last episode, the final episode before Daytona. This is the pre-race. This is the pre-weekend hype. It is all right here, episode 31 of the Clutch Dump. But it's not just going to be Daytona. We got more to talk about. We got some MotoGP to talk about, and we got Monte Carlo Rallye, one of the most prestigious rallies in all of rallying rally. Also, I was going to use, for those of y'all watching but also listening, I was trying to use a different backlight off my monitor to illuminate because the lighting in this house is very poor. But then I forgot Forza 7 does that thing where it just shows the car, and I was going to use that as the backlight. Then I realized I was getting distracted. So, Ben, take it from here.
Hi. Hello. Well, that was a chaotic start. This is true. Well, welcome to episode 31, ladies and gents. And yes, we're going to start with Rallye Monte Carlo. Nick, did you watch it? I'm assuming no.
No, but I've actually seen a lot of clips from it.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it is a big one. It is, it is the oldest rally still run. Started in 1911. Jesus. What happened? Did you turn the sun on? Oh my God.
Yeah, the sun just turned on. Oh, Lord.
If you're listening, that won't make sense. If you're watching, this will make sense. Anyway, Rallye Monte Carlo, been run since 1911. Cars are a bit faster now.
Yeah.
But, we're going to get straight into it. Sébastien Ogier is now the record holder for most wins at Rallye Monte Carlo with 9.
For stages or overall?
Overall wins. He's won Rallye Monte Carlo 9 times, surpassing Sébastien Loeb, who has 8.
So if you're new, if you don't watch a lot of rally, and let's say you watched a lot of rally in the 80s and 90s, but you haven't watched a lot this century.
Yeah,
I have 2 descriptors to let you know who wins. The first name is Sebastian, and they're French. And you've basically got the last 20 years of rally covered. That
covers most of it, yeah. So Sébastien Ogier had an absolutely insanely dominant rally, which no one was surprised about. I talked about it a bit in episode 31, but WRC is kind of lacking in the driver department. There's all of 8 drivers.
Total? Competitive.
Well, 8 drivers for the Monte Carlo Rally in the Premier WRC class. So that's pretty small, even by rally standards. But if you don't know, Sébastien Ogier was most likely to win. He's in the Toyota, which last year we know was the dominant car. It won the championship last year. Sébastien Ogier won the WRC championship in 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, and 21. So he's won the championship a couple times, and like I said before, this is his 9th victory at Monte Carlo, so no one was surprised to see him win. So I will go through the stage victories real quick. Stages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Sébastien Ogier. Stages 6, Elfyn Evans. Stage 7, Sébastien Ogier. Stages 8 and 9, Kalle Rovanperä, your defending world champion. Stage 10, Sébastien Ogier. Stage 11, Kalle Rovanperä again. Stages 12 and 13, Thierry Neuville. Now, Thierry Neuville is something I was very excited about because of the Hyundai drivers, he is the one that we think has the best shot of winning anything this year. So it was nice to see him get some stage wins. If I remember, future Ben, do this. There's a nice video of him going through a hairpin and goes in way too hot and basically goes backwards and perfectly parks it in someone's driveway and then basically launches it back. So I'll if I remember, future Ben put this in here. So Thierry Neuville won stages 12 and 13. Stage 14, Kalle Rovanperä. 15, Sébastien Ogier. 16, Kalle Rovanperä. 17, Sébastien Ogier. 18, Kalle Rovanperä.
Well,
so the thing to note about those 18 stages is that 16 of them were won in a Toyota. So
Yeah, I was going to say, I was looking down the column. And it's,
so if that's anything to go by for the rest of this year, well, it could look a lot like last year. The thing about Sebastian Ogier is I don't know if he's running. I think he's running a full season, but I don't know if he is. Because that's the thing about WRC is some people don't run full seasons. They just pick the ones that they want to, that they're available for. So Sebastian Loeb was not here for this race, which I was very upset about because he was tied with Ogier for rally wins, but because Dakar ended, 8 days ago now, which would have been like 3 days ago for when they needed to show up in Monte Carlo. So he just wasn't going to make that one, just wasn't in the shape for it. And then plus with the revised cars for this year and all that stuff. So some notes. Well, real quick, your championship standings, which is basically just your finishing order of the race.
nice.
Sebastian Ogier, shocker. Followed by Kalle Rovanperä, Thierry Neuville, Elfyn Evans, Ott Tanak, Takemoto Katsuta. I butcher that name every time. Basically, he ran in the satellite, you could call it. To explain it to non-rally people, it's the satellite team. In the satellite Toyota team last year, he has a factory seat this year. Danny Sordo came 7th, and Esa-Pekka Lappi came 8th. Some quick notes. Ott Tanak had power steering issues with his Puma Saturday morning. Now, Ott Tanak was the person I was rooting for because of, won a championship, went to Hyundai. Didn't work for him, went back to IMSport. He knew he could trust IMSport, all that thing. IMSport is a tiny, tiny team compared to Toyota and Hyundai. There were 2 Pumas running this weekend, and one of the drivers is not doing a full season. So Ott Tanak was the driver for this weekend. He looked confident. I mean, he finished 5th overall. He was only 2.5 minutes behind Ogier at the end of the rally. So totally respectable for a first rally back with IMSport and a first rally back in that Puma. I imagine that the I-20N and the Puma drive very differently. So well done to Ott Tanak handling that power steering issue. And a bit of drama, a bit of social media bantering, not long after losing his status as most successful Monte Carlo rally driver, Sebastian Loeb challenged Ogier to a rematch. So stay tuned for Rally Monte Carlo next year. Now, I am going to talk about WRC 2 for a minute, just because it's been interesting this year. And there was some drama at the end of the race. So Johan Rossel, sorry if I mispronounced that, has been crowned the WRC 2 winner for Rally Monte Carlo after Vince Stewards gave Nikolai Gryazin, totally butchered that, a 5-second time penalty. So the kid who won the race was given a 5-second time penalty, so the guy who came second finished first, because the guy who finished the race first was 4.5 seconds ahead of second place,
Right.
and then was given a 5-second time penalty.
That's brutal.
And he was given that time penalty for cutting a corner in stage 14. So you are allowed to drop wheels off either side, but if you drop all 4, that is cutting a corner.
That's fair.
And then Oliver Solberg, who is not running a full season, so he's not in the championship standings, but Oliver Solberg, who is in WRC2, yes, that Solberg, would finish the rally 14th overall after winning 10 stages.
How is that possible? How do you win 10 stages and finish 14th overall?
10 stages for WRC2. And that's overall of all the rally cars.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
And
And then
rally, he won 10 stages. I was like,
so 10 stages for Rally Monte Carlo. Well, yeah, but you have to remember a WRC2 winning 10 stages is slower than a Rally 1 car winning no stages.
right, but he wasn't competing against Rally 1, was he?
Right, he's in Rally 2. Or he's in a Rally 2 car, but the other thing is you have to remember you could win 17 of the 18 stages,
right, and one failure
and have one failure and lose the whole thing. So he had 10 wins, which just shows how consistent he was, which is really good, because Solberg was in Rally 1 last year.
Right.
And then he stepped back down to Rally 2, which honestly, Rally 2 is probably going to be more competitive than Rally 1 this year, like most sports. The slightly lower divisions are usually more competitive than the top tiers. So he stepped down, and he seems super comfortable in that Skoda. I'll have a picture of that car up here. That car is like the Goldilocks car for this year. Apparently, Skoda just built a outstandingly good car. And
back on WRC 06, which was like the only
Yes.
game I really ever played, the Skoda Octavia sedan was just.
So here's the thing. I wish Skoda would come back to Rally 1.
I wish
here's
it
the
could, but you know,
right. Also that. Dear Skoda, if you're watching this, come back, please.
Yeah.
But Skoda basically just owns Rally 2 at this point. It's Citroens and Skodas and a couple dudes in Fiestas for some reason. But that Skoda apparently is like the business. So anyone who's fast is in that.
the business.
So Nick Patty, I only took up 10 minutes for Rally.
Hey, listen.
So, but now I'm going to take up more of your time because I'm going to talk about MotoGP for a second.
Well, once after MotoGP, we're getting serious.
It's getting serious.
Professor,
this is
coming out.
This is an important episode.
According to my calculations.
Now, MotoGP news. We don't have any serious news because it's still the off season, but we do have more livery launches.
Yes.
So let's see. On the 21st, we had Gresini Ducati, which is one of the 15 satellite Ducati teams, and then yesterday, or was that today? Today's the 23rd. Today we had the factory Ducati livery launch. Now I was in school, ran out of time, whatever. I didn't do a full aero bike comparison like I did for the last one, but I will before I upload this. And something I forgot to mention in the last episode, these are not the race bikes. These are not the finished products. So what they do in MotoGP, because it's so competitive and little aero changes affect a lot.
Yeah.
So this isn't exactly how the physical bike is going to look. This is the livery. So they will colorway look this way. But as far as aero changes go, they might not be, perfect or whatever. Because if someone goes, if we just change our wing angle a tiny bit, maybe we'll solve world hunger or something. So the Gresini bike, I think, looks fantastic this year. It looks way better. It's a lighter blue. Ooh, different blue. But the red stripe down the center looks amazing. I'm excited to see a Marquez on a Ducati because we've never seen that.
Is it Alex?
So Alex is on a Ducati this year. So all the Marquezes, mainly Mark, has been on Hondas his whole career, won 1 million championships. And Alex is now in Gresini. He took Enea Bastianini's seat. And apparently during the Valencia test, he got off the bike and just could not stop smiling. Apparently it's the greatest thing ever, or the Honda's just horrible. Which, to be fair, Marc Marquez said the Honda is horrible.
Well,
it's never been a great bike. So livery looks fantastic. Now, Lenovo Ducati
looks, as you said, the business.
Looks the business. However, very similar to last year's bike. But very similar. But last year's bike looked good.
Yeah, when you're Ferrari or Ducati, how do you improve on red? Just
right. So
different.
Just heads up for our audio listeners, the Ducati bike is red. That about sums it up.
Yeah, with some more reddish red and some less red.
It's more red, and then there's that orangish bit down the middle.
That's what I'm saying. That's the less red.
Right, that's the less red.
Yeah. Then there's some black.
But the big news is that for the 2023 season, Pecco Bagnaia will race with the number 1. So like Formula 1 and most racing series, I think, if you win the championship the next year, you're allowed to use the number 1. They don't allow, when you come into the sport, they don't allow you to pick number 1. So Pecco is going to run the number 1 next year. Now the thing is, the number 1, there's kind of some stipulation around it and some bad vibes or whatever. Because I actually looked into this before. What riders switched to number 1 and then won again? And the last person to do it was Mick Doohan in 1998. Yeah. He won three championships in a row. Let's see. I know that Casey Stoner was the last person to run the number one.
Before him, Nicky Hayden ran it in 07 after he won in 06.
Yep. So
he ran it for a while, but
so Stoner ran it in 12 after winning in 11. Oh my gosh, I'm a horrible podcast person. I'm fired, dude. I'm so sorry.
Till next time.
Till next time. It to be determined, can he defend his title with the number one? Because the last time it happened was Mick Doohan in 1998. Now, Nick,
superstition. I don't think Pecco's going to be able to, just based off the fact that it took him so long to get this first one. Because really, he could have had 2 previous championships in years prior, but he's blown it. If anything, last year not was a fluke, but the stars happened to align to the point where he got to.
I mean, I genuinely think it was one of those things of. So last year, Fabio was definitely a better rider than Pecco,
right?
But Fabio was stuck on a Yamaha,
right?
If they were on the same bike, it wouldn't even be close. I don't think.
Yeah, and Pecco didn't make enough mistakes to offset for
being on a better bike. So that's why he was so close in the last race. If anyone's going to win it this year on a Ducati, it'll be Enea Bastianini. So, but more on that later. Well, Nick, Patty, I've taken up enough of your precious time.
Hey, no, we're both going to sink our teeth into this next section. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish I could add a cool little intro, and it's like cars flybys on the high banks of Daytona, and
I'll put that in though.
Out of the pit lane where it's all electric and then it's the big old V8 that just starts chopping
V8 things.
Freedomville. But alas, so IMSA time, sports car time, Daytona time. So
what are we going to start with?
Well, for those of y'all that don't know, this last weekend there was actually on-track action, which you kind of missed, but
yes,
that is okay because we're going to cover some of it. But we're going to start with the stuff in chronological order. So this last weekend was the Roar Before the 24, which is IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship qualifying for the Rolex 24. You had 2 races of the renamed, but basically the same series that we're used to, the Sports Car Challenge with various different sponsors. It's been Continental, it's been Michelin. This year it's VP Racing, so it's the VP Sports Car Challenge. So they had 2 races, one Saturday, one Sunday. And then there was between 3 and 5 practice sessions for each series. So there was a lot of on-track action. There was some night testing for the WeatherTech Sports Car Series. But let's start with the VP Sports Car Challenge. So if you're not too familiar with the series or how they run at Daytona in the Roar Before the 24, there were 2 45-minute races. They're timed races, obviously, as are the rest of the races on the calendar for IMSA. So 45 minutes, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. So quick, short, and easy, but Dan Goldberg swept the weekend in LMP3, and he was driving the number 73 JDC Motorsports Ducati D08. And for those of y'all that are like, what the hell is that? The Sports Car Challenge has 2 classes, LMP3 and GSX. GSX is what was just GS in the Michelin Pilot Sports Car Challenge. And if you're like, I still don't know what GS is. GS stands for Grand Sport, but the homologation rules is GT4. So your Cayman GT4 Club Sports, your BMW M4 GT4s, your Ford GT350 GT4s. So all that, the ZL1 GT4, all of those are what was running. And your LMP3 is what we've had for years that normally runs with the WeatherTech Sports Car Series, but they were running this weekend at Daytona down with the GSX cars. Sorry, I'm trying to keep this all straight. So Dan Goldberg won in the LMP3 class. Billy Griffin swept the weekend in GSX, and he was driving the number 14 Mustang GT4 from KOH Racing. Now, there's a few talking points, and I watched both races. Ben,
Excuse me. Yes.
it was kind of boring.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched any.
I watched a little, and then I just watched the highlights afterwards.
Yeah. The Continental and then Michelin Pilot Sport Challenge, the series have normally had some of the closest racing. I don't know what happened, but this year it was like crickets. Like whoever started on pole just pulled a gap, and that was
And
basically
just kind of stayed there. Yeah.
that was it. Now, so the talking points. The first one is the racing was pretty spread out and boring. I don't have anything against the lower levels in IMSA.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I said, normally it's some of the better racing, but unfortunately it was just pretty lackluster. If you listened to last weekend's episode, which is also up on the YouTube, make sure to go check it out. I never did our introduction with the social media, so
That's fine. We'll put it in at the end.
But Courtney Crone, who was the IMSA development driver, she had her first race this weekend. Hold.
Oh, I retract my woot.
Into the bus stop, just threw her car up the inside and made contact, and then was off in the grass. Now, apparently, she posted
Courtney,
on
I apologize, but I am going to have to retract my woot.
She posted on Instagram that apparently from the race officials she had been cleared of all fault. I don't know how, because she just threw it up the inside way too late, made contact. That all being said, I was sitting here
Robin's racing, man. It happens.
on the first lap, and I was like, this is a great start for the IMSA development program.
Yes.
First weekend, first
Drama.
race, first lap, just so.
Yeet.
Anyway, there you go. If you're listening, we'd love to have you on. And then let's see. So that was some of the drama. The GSX cars are fantastic. The GT4 platform, fantastic. Chef's kiss. However, this year, I don't know why. I don't know if it's just the driver pool, but there were GSX cars getting lapped by the leaders in GSX within 5 laps, and it was like, why is the field this spread out? Now I understand this is the testing ground for young drivers.
Yeah, I'm assuming most of them are bronze or silver drivers, correct?
This is what I don't understand, is it's been that way for over a decade.
Well, maybe there's just
always been tighter. So
maybe there's some drivers that are just really bronze and some that are just really silver.
Silver, yeah.
Yeah, it's really polished silver.
Polished bronze.
Right.
And then, yeah, LMP3, I made that point, but basically a lot of the drivers being new, we saw some of the inexperience show, like a first lap dive bomb on cold tires on a track that is not up to temp.
Love to see it.
Yeah, and then the fact that not only did one class have a repeat winner, but both classes had sweeps the entire weekend, which you're telling me there isn't one car in either class that couldn't contest a challenge or even contest for the lead. So unfortunately, I thought it was a fairly lackluster weekend in terms of competitiveness, but that went out the window when we got to IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Challenge qualifying.
Qualifying was spicy.
Qualifying was mucho fuego. So to say for our Spanish speaking friends. So qualifying. I'm gonna go through the results, ladies and gentlemen, and then we will talk about some of the talking points. So I'm getting my results from the one and only motorsport.com. I am scrolling down to their little table that I tried to copy paste and it didn't work. Okay.
Unfortunate.
First, overall, this is going to get tedious, so I apologize, is the Acura from Meyershank Racing. Tom Blomqvist is the driver that qualified that car. He is joined in the race by Colin Braun, Helio Castroneves, and Simon Pagenaud, a star-studded lineup. Castroneves and Pagenaud and Blomqvist are the veterans, so to speak, for Meyershank in terms of their Daytona competition. And Colin Braun is a veteran in sports car racing, but with Meyer Shank, this is a little bit of a different lineup. In second place, we have the Porsche 963, the number 7 car. Felipe Nasr qualified that car. Matt Campbell and Michael Christensen joining him. Matt Campbell was a GT3 driver. Michael Christensen is a factory Porsche driver. He drove the RSRs at Le Mans, and obviously Felipe Nasr, the former Formula One driver, who's been a Porsche
That's a mouthful.
driver for a while. Third place, Ricky Taylor, Felipe Albuquerque, Louis Delatraz, and Brendan Hartley in the Wayne Taylor Racing number 10 Konica Minolta Acura. And then we have all three Cadillacs. We have the first from Action, or the two from
Action Express.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
No, Action Express is the 31. No, you're right. Action Express and then Wheelan is their own. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The new cars are throwing me off.
There's a lot going on. It's the first race. Bear with us.
All that's gone out the window. So Sebastian Bourdais, Renger van de Zande, and Scott Dixon are in the 0-1 car. Oh, Chip Ganassi. From the 0-1 of Chip Ganassi Racing in the first Cadillac. In second, also from Chip Ganassi Racing, is Earl Bamber, Alex Lynn, and Richard Westbrook. They qualified 5th overall in the Cadillac. And then in 6th from Action Express is the 1 car that we normally know as the Wheelan Engineering car. That's driven by Pipo Derani, Alexander Sims, and Jack Aitken. In 7th, we have the BMW. Philip Ang, Augusto Farfus, Marco Wittmann, and Colton Herta. That's the number 24 car. And then the number 25 car is in 8th with Connor DeFilippi, Nick Yellowly, Vanderlinde, and Colton Herta as well. And if you'll refer back to last week's episode, if you missed it, you can go check it out on YouTube and wherever you find podcasts. But yes,
Colton Herta is driving for both cars.
In both BMW prototypes. And if you're going to say, wait a minute, Mr. Porsche man, you're missing a Porsche. Starting at the bottom.
So Nick, if we scroll down and we keep scrolling, and we're at 35 now.
In the motorsport article?
50, 61. Nick, who is starting in 61st, please?
Yeah, in 61st, we have Mitu Jamine, Nick Tandy, and Dane Cameron in the number 6 Porsche 963. Woo! We're going to get to why they're down there in a minute. I am going to go through... I'll just go through who's first in LMP2. Ben Keating, Paul-Louis Chatin, Alex Quinn, and Nicholas LaPierre in the Orica Gibson car, the number 52. Then if we scroll down to right here, the number 57 car, the Mercedes, is on pole in GTD, driven by Russell Ward, Philip Ellis, Indy Donje, and Lucas Auer. Lucas Auer, you'll know from European GT3 driving.
Not only, hold up. But before we go any further.
And another Mercedes, and another Mercedes. And then
I was about to say, Mercedes, top 4 in qualifying.
So the other thing that is new this year to qualifying is normally the difference between GTD, what was Pro, and then AM, which is now just GTD, and then GTD AM.
No. It's just GTD and GTD Pro.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
No, it's everyone. They messed with the names for no reason.
They've messed with the names, and
it's going to take us at least a race or two.
So the difference between GTD Pro and what used to be GTD AM and now just AM, or just now GTD, is GTD would have to have an amateur driver in it.
Correct.
Which is still the case. You still have that, and the GTD Pro could just be all pros. And the for context, the main differentiator is 2 things. One, if you're a full-time paid driver, you're a pro, or in terms of your racing experience or qualifications, that even let's say you pay your own way, like Cooper McNeil is I think still considered an AM driver, but he's a silver. But if he was still racing full time, could easily be a pro driver. That's a gold or a platinum.
Right.
This is a all over segment, and I apologize. But what they changed now is if you are a AM team or just a GTD team, you can have your pro drivers, your gold or your platinum rated drivers, do qualifying. What it used to be is if you're AM and you have AM drivers, you got to have the AM drivers qualify to kind of
makes sense
to naturally split out the field.
Right.
So when you look at who qualified the cars, it is all your top class GT3 European drivers or the
that was
creme de la creme of the American drivers.
When I was watching qualifying, and it was like GTD and GTD Pro, they qualify in the same session, and like it was 4 GTD cars.
Yeah,
were the front 2 rows, and I was like, that makes no sense because GTD Pro. And I looked into it afterwards, and it's like, oh no, that's just okay. They're allowed to use the
I've been seeing people confused on Twitter and stuff. The cars are identical. They're all GT3 cars, and they were that way last year and the year before. I think the year before.
We'll go
They've
with
been
it.
that way for a few years.
Right.
The difference is in qualifying, you would have your amateur driver qualify. So the thing is you have to start the driver that qualified. So some of the teams still decided to have their AM driver qualify because they want to get the AM driver's time during the race kind of out of the way as early as possible. So some of the teams were playing strategy with the qualifying outside of just setting a fast time. What some of the commentators were saying, Ben's camera's doing its thing again. What some of the commentators
let it go.
They were
I don't know
putting
why
out
it's doing this.
Sometimes at the beginning of the race, you want your more experienced driver in there for all the chaos that occurs at the beginning of the race. So we'll see. I'll be at turn 1 for the start of the race. So there will be video of whatever accident happens. Okay.
Is the race run noon to noon?
It is 1:40 to 1:40.
Okay.
But that's when it starts. So it may start at 2 sharp, and it's like
right, because that's like parade lap and formation lap and all that stuff. Okay. So starting with your AM driver might be better to have them do their stint in the day and then have your experienced drivers do the night stints. Probably
right, and so the other thing is you can't.
It fixed itself.
Wording of the rule, but the rule is that you can't have a driver do more than 4 hours in any 6-hour window.
Correct. It's the same rule for Le Mans.
Yeah. Okay. So even if the AM drivers start, they're not going to be, even if they do a double stint, maybe 3.5 hours, but then they'll be out anyway. And they will have to do more time I think the minimum is 6 hours.
You're correct. The minimum, I think is 6 hours or 5.5 or something like that, but you're not allowed to do more than 4 hours within a 6-hour period. So if you start the race, you can do 4 hours, but you have to get out of the car for 2 hours.
So that's qualifying
until you can get back in.
And we got talking points coming down the pipe, coming down the tube.
Oh, we do. We definitely do.
The defending champions, Meyershank Racing and the number 60 Acura, are off to a perfect start. You have new regulations. It's a new season. Everything is to play for, and obviously as the defending champion, you have the most to lose. Coming out of the gates, super strong. Unfortunately, it is qualifying for a 24-hour race, so it doesn't really mean that much.
Right.
But
so it means unless there's a Valtteri Bottas behind you, like the only thing is that you probably won't get sandwiched into turn 1.
We're gonna have some tight racing for that first lap.
Dude, that is what I love about endurance races, is because it's like, oh, here's a million classes and they're all going to race at the same time. So you get 61 cars.
Not only that, but you're also going to have, they never drive like it's an endurance race. They're always anytime there's a fight for position, it's as if it's the last lap.
Right. Well, that's one of the things that I like, especially about, I've watched a bunch of documentaries and stuff about Le Mans and Daytona, is that it's like, none of the drivers know when they're in the seat that it's a 24-hour race. They're racing as if it's 5 laps,
right?
Kind of thing. So, Nick, were you surprised? Because here's the thing. for qualifying, I totally expected the Acuras to win. I'm not surprised at all that the team that had a car last year
that won the championship
and won the championship is doing really well so far. Obviously, I'm surprised about Nick Tandy, but that's a whole nother thing. Right. That is.
Look at the Acura; it's almost the identical aero package as last year's car. Like
they do look very similar.
But yeah, the full front fascia, the structure of how they are very similar. So I think the Acura is the most like the previous generation car. Well, in the same way the Cadillac has basically the same exact drivetrain as the previous generation car.
Right.
But it has a totally different aero package on it.
Right. So Acura is the most well-prepared, if that's English, is the most well-prepared team as far as these four of the manufacturers. They're the most well-prepared because they've been in the hypercar class for the past 2 or 3 years, and they didn't change up the teams a lot. Whereas, like, the Cadillac teams and the Ferrari teams haven't been running a LMDH hypercar team for...
I'm trying to think, and this is horrible that I don't remember this.
Yes.
Oh, no, I guess Ganassi was running Cadillacs. I was going to say, I don't even remember Ganassi running cars for the last few years, but they had no success with the Cadillac. Mm-hmm. So I guess if they're ahead of BMW, that's impressive.
Well, here's the thing, and the thing I want to talk about most was the BMW, aside from the fact that your precious Porsche ended up back.
Well, I was going to say, so we can go to the last bullet point if you want, the last talk.
We'll go straight to the last bullet point. So what I think, this is going to upset Nick, the best-looking car of the GTP category. It just can't be the Porsche. It's not allowed to be the Porsche. Whatever it is, it can't be the 963. So the BMW is the newest of the cars. Yes, they're all new, but it was released the latest. It has the least testing time. It has the freshest teams, all that stuff. So no one expected the BMW to do well or whatever. So the fact that they qualified, at the bottom of the GTP category, no one's really surprised about because no one expected them to do super well.
BMW came out on Twitter and Instagram, and this is where I got that bullet point, is the tweet literally said, we were never expecting to be fast, but it's a 24-hour race, and we're going to be there at the end, something along those lines. So BMW is just flat out saying, yeah, we're not fast.
Well, yeah, I mean, for a while, there was, and I'm talking back in October, November time, there was a lot of talk of, the BMW is going to be here in 2023. No, it's going to be a 2024 car. No, it's a 23 car. No, it's a 20. It was going back and forth. No one knew. And then all of a sudden they were like, yeah, we'll be at Daytona in January. And everyone's like, I guess it's a 23 car.
They're like, sure they will.
And it's one of those things of was it ready? No, but it was ready enough kind of thing. Yeah. Whereas obviously the Ferrari is an LMH car, not a GTP car, but the Ferrari is going to have so much more testing. And is if instead it was, if it was a GTP car, it would be like the BMWs, it'd be at the back. So yeah, BMW, they are relying on the idea of to finish first you must finish.
Well, and so for context for everybody listening, these cars are already setting times seconds faster than the DPI cars from last year. So we are talking about relative lack of pace. That all being said, this is a perfect segue into the next point. The entire
transitions, gotta love it.
Yes, GTP field was covered by 0.8 of a second. So
yes.
Number three. The GTP regulations are doing exactly what we hoped they would do. So in everything we've seen, in terms of the fan reaction, we got on-track stuff, and now in terms of the raw pace, they're not even just a second, which a second, guys, we're talking, you got to be within DRS range. They're another 0.2 closer.
Right, it's real close.
Yeah.
Right. So, hey, Formula One, take note. It works.
Were you expecting bigger gaps? Are you surprised that Cadillac is as low as they are? I mean, granted it's fourth and fifth, but I was expecting Cadillac or Acura to be the ones that took pole. I'm shocked Cadillac wasn't higher up.
Well, yes, Cadillac is the car that I'm most upset about. I'm upset about the BMW, but BMW said that they weren't going to do anything magical, so expectations were already low. Cadillac, I had pretty high standards for. I assumed that the Acuras would be 1 and 2. I'm most impressed by the 963 so far, which we'll get to that in a second. The Cadillacs I'm most upset about. I was hoping that we would have 3 different manufacturers, 1, 2, and 3. And I assumed
both Acuras beat all Cadillacs. You'd expect some
right
intermixing there in the order, but it's just
right. And that a lot of that could just come down to driver, because as you said, they're separated by 0.8 seconds of a car. So in theory, any one of those drivers could hop into any one of the other cars and do just as good. So it could just come down to driver knowledge of the track and driver knowledge of that type of car.
I was actually surprised Porsche put in Felipe Nasr as their qualifier.
Right. Because I'm assuming there's some strategy going on there. I'm assuming most of Acura's lineup, I don't have the lineups memorized from last year. I'm assuming most of Acura's lineup from this year is similar to their lineup.
It's identical minus Colin Braun for Meyershank and for, I don't remember who on Wayne Taylor Racing wasn't there last year, but.
Right. So, like, this isn't a big change up for them as opposed to, like, the guys in the 963s that were driving GT3 cars last year. It's like, okay, this is the same in the fact that it has slicks and a steering wheel.
And it has a badge.
It's got a Porsche badge on it, or a sticker.
Yeah.
So, I do think that Acura was the most likely to succeed, and that shows. I'm disappointed in the Cadillacs. I do have high hopes for the Cadillacs when it comes to the 24. I think that engine combo is probably the most simple of the bunch.
It's a V8, yeah.
It's just a V8. But on the other hand, Acura's been doing this for a couple years, and on the other hand, that Porsche motor is from 2008? When did the RS Spider come out? 1947? Yeah, 06. That motor's been Porsche built one really cool twin turbo V8, and they were like, "Yeah, we could just use this forever."
The engine for the next 20 years.
Yeah. So, that's. I'm actually surprised. I don't know if I brought this up to you. I'm surprised it doesn't have and I don't know if it's written somewhere in the fine print of the rulebook that you can't use the motor from your LMP1 car, but I'm surprised it doesn't have the 919 motor.
Yeah.
Because I think. Well, for starters, the 919 is kind of a proven car. It won that French one a couple times. Yeah. So I'm surprised about that. Nick Patty, as our resident Porsche fanboy, how do you feel about qualifying?
So I saw the results before I watched it. So when I saw Nick Patty at the bottom, I was like, what are we doing, guys?
What do you mean at the bottom?
And then
not the bottom of the GTP cars.
Well,
the bottom.
Well, when I saw it, it was bottom of the GTP because they qualified first, I think.
Right.
And so I was like, what's going on, guys? Why bottom?
What are we doing?
Listen, I was expecting pole. I'm not going to lie.
Of course.
I was expecting it because I wanted it. I didn't actually think Porsche was just...
Yes. Okay. There it is.
But as I tweeted, it's a 20... This is one of the 2 races in the world where qualifying is the least important. So while qualifying is a good indicator of the pace...
Well, no, I would say that Nick Tandy's starting position has quite a bit to do with his race finish result.
Meaning, if your prototype is 1st or 6th, doesn't matter.
Right. It's one of those things of,
So, and I'm not even worrying about the Nick Tandy car. I'm thinking purely for the Matt Campbell, Felipe Nasr car being in 2nd. I was like, that sucks that we're not 1st. But we're 2nd. You look at BMW. So I think the closest comparison is going to be BMW for Porsche.
Yeah.
Purely because they're both coming into this cold turkey. And BMW was the bottom in terms of pace. BMW. So the fact that Porsche's above that, the fact that Porsche was faster than all three Cadillacs. Granted,
Yep.
I know that we're dealing with, there's a lap, you make a little mistake, you make a little fidget, a little bit less traction in one area of the track versus the other on different laps.
But all three Cadillacs.
Right, but all three. I mean,
Cadillac came in swinging with three cars.
Yeah, that's reassuring. So I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty hopeful. I think the biggest problem, Nick Tandy and the other Porsche. Well, so let's just say it. The talking point is veteran IMSA drivers are still figuring out where the limits are with these cars. Because Nick Tandy wadded up his 963 in the bus stop in his qualifying run. However, apparently Porsche, like this afternoon, said the overall damage is really not that bad. It's basically just bodywork damage.
Well, I mean, if you watch the crash, he basically going into the bus stop, the rear end steps out and he just has no time to correct and just goes into the wall. But I mean, he just backed up and drove back. Drove over his own fender, which made me cry for a little bit because I have mechanical sympathy.
If I was there right now, I would be standing out back of the Porsche garage next to the dumpster, just like
they're gonna throw something away.
I don't know what it is. But so here's the thing: the start of the race, within 3 or 4 laps, granted, if he can keep his nose clean, he will have passed all of the GTD, all of the LMP2.
Right. That's the thing. Is it's not like it's not 60. It's not 60 other GTP cars.
You can't really have a setback that is an abnormal setback for the rest of the race. Because here's the thing. Let's say all the GTP cars are lapping fairly similarly after he gets through the GTD field. He'll have lost so much time getting through that GTD field. Maybe a lap. He might lose a lap in that. Let's say they all lap at the same pace and he's about a lap behind. You can't really have a abnormal puncture or something break on the car where even just for a couple laps, they got to wheel it back. Especially when we don't know what the reliability on these cars is going to be. You don't even know that your own car is going to make it through the race to be in a position where you can catch up.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, and to be fair, like we do kind of know the reliability of these cars. Porsche has done several 36-hour stints in these cars. I would not be surprised.
Always different, and you never know in terms of side-on-side contact with the kink in the infield.
Well, and
some of that for 24 hours, things may break. After
it's one of those things of when Porsche does endurance testing for the 963, they're at a track by themselves for 36 hours.
Well, that's not obviously nobody. Tests how well does my car last for 18 hours after contact? So we don't know what some of the rigidity of these components are going to be. Now, granted, they have to meet safety regulations, but we don't know after side-on-side contact, maybe with a GT car that's much bigger, how long those parts will last. Or even if they do survive the impact. It could be, we've tested for head-on and for T-boned, but at a particular angle, parts are more susceptible to failure. We don't know any of that.
Right.
So the people that have watched Daytona plenty, there's always front to rear, if it's GTP or GT3 or GT3 to GT3 or GTP to GTP, there's always side to side contact. There's always rubbing. So that's going to be.
And the other thing about Nick Tandy's 963 starting in the back is, whereas the other GTP cars, they're just going to run away from the rest of the field. Basically, he's got to get through it, and not only get through it, he has to assume that the 53 cars in front of him don't get in any accidents. No one spins. There's no if there's contact and someone throws off, a canard, a fender, something, and gets under that 963, and like you said, and he has to pit. Okay, if you've got to pit 1 or 2 laps into a 24-hour race, you're already last.
Well, so here's the thing is, the GTP cars will catch the GT3 field within 2 laps. They'll be on the tail end of that field.
Right.
So if he's even halfway through it, now they're already on him.
Right.
A lap down. So, question, going into Daytona.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be car-specific, but manufacturer-wise, how do you think kind of and obviously manufacturers have different cars, But how do
Sure.
you think in terms of the most successful manufacturers, how is it going to result? If you average where you think the cars will generally finish?
I think they are going to finish Acura 1-2. I think going into this weekend, now granted WC is going to be a very different story, but I think going into this weekend, Acura is for sure the camp to beat. So my money's on Acura 1-2. Behind Acura, I think is going to be the Cadillacs. I think that the BMWs are just not going to have the pace.
No.
I think they're just going to be kind of a Peugeot 9X8 of sorts.
Yeah.
Kind of just like, oh, well, it looks cool, but it's not really up to par with everything else.
Right.
So I think Cadillacs are going to be up there. And I'm interested to see where both of the Porsches finish. I don't know. I
think a Porsche is going to be on the podium. I don't know what step. I don't know if it's going to be first, second, third, but I think one of the cars,
I wouldn't bet against it. But the only thing, for starters, as far as we know, that Porsche has more testing time than any other car.
Right.
Or at least more publicly known about testing time than any other car. We know they have good drivers because it's Porsche. But we also do know they had reliability issues.
Right.
So I'll be interested to see where they sit. Because both Acura and Cadillac were in the DPI era. So they have, they're a step ahead, so to speak.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He hasn't even been running a Porsche program, let alone an IMSA program, to my knowledge. So
correct. So
Penske had an LMP2 car that was white, and I remember the blue Penske stripes on it. But outside of that, they haven't done really that much of anything in terms
right.
of
So I don't know. I think when we get closer to Le Mans, I think the Porsche will get to the Acura levels, and I think the BMW will get to the Cadillac level, to where Cadillac is now. But I don't know if Cadillac will be up there with the rest of them. I mean, like, here's the thing about this weekend. We have no idea what's going to happen.
Right.
Those Acuras could just be really fast over one lap.
Right.
That could be it. They could be horrible for 24 hours. They could be bad on fuel. Tire deck could be bad. Who knows? They could be horrible.
It's gonna be so good.
I mean, they could pull a Ferrari and take each other out into turn one. Who knows what's going to happen? That is the beauty of 24-hour racing and and not just revised regulations. They threw the book out the window.
Yeah,
these are brand new cars.
We made some tweaks.
I mean, last year's F1 cars were like heavily revised, but there was still a bit of the they didn't throw everything away. This is like different cars. Just don't even bother with what you had last year. It's a different car. So I mean, that's the beauty of this race, is going into it. It's like, well, who do I want to win? Well, I want them all to win. I want Acura to win. I want Porsche to win. I want Cadillac to win. I want BMW.
We want Porsche to win. All right.
Calm down.
Looking forward. And before I get into what we're looking forward to, I am going to do the shameless plug because none of this you won't be able to see any of this if you're not following us on Instagram at the Cutch Dump. And if you're listening to this, you've already found us. We are on any and all of the podcasting platforms. So make sure, if you like the content, to subscribe or follow to stay in touch and to stay on top of when new episodes drop. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. Make sure to leave a subscription on YouTube. Ben puts literally tireless amounts of effort into editing these, in addition to all of the schoolwork that we now have. So please do drop a like on the video. And then obviously Twitter at NicholasPatty21. I'll be tweeting live stuff and behind the scenes stuff. But looking forward, what do we have coming down the pipe? Guys, we're going to have a full vlog after Daytona that I will do my best to be the cringiest 2013-14 YouTuber I can. And
Hell yeah.
yeah, just what's up, guys? We're at Daytona.
Oh my gosh.
What's up, guys? It's Rallye. No, I'm kidding. But
and I'm gonna have to edit that. That's gonna be cool.
Well, I'm gonna take it back in editing, and then I'll send it to Ben and say, "What are your thoughts?"
Fix.
Yeah. And by sending it to Ben, I mean he'll just re-edit it. But we're gonna have a full vlog coming from Daytona, so that'll be. You'll see like parts of it. Honestly, you'll see little insights on Instagram, so make sure to follow there. But a full vlog will be coming to the YouTube. So if you're a podcast listener, make sure to go check out the YouTube because you won't be able to see the vlog or just listen to the vlog, I guess. But if you want the specific app, it's at the Cutch Dump Pod. As Ben says, make sure to look for that yellow Porsche. We're also linking up with the TikTok page, the person, the man, the myth, the legend, Haas of Cards. We are going to be at the track. We're going to do some content together.
Such a good name.
It really is.
It's such a clever name.
I thought it was great. It's
outstanding.
Yeah, it's the House of Cards cover, but then it's Haas. Yeah. So anyway, we're going to be doing stuff with him. I've been in coordination with him, so make sure to check that out on TikTok. He's Haas of Cards. But we'll be making our content for Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I say we, as in my wife and I. We're going to be at the. I will be posting at track content starting Thursday evening all the way until the end of the race Sunday. So make sure to follow, turn on those notifications. I know I sound like the pitchiest son of a gun, but if you're not at Daytona and you want to see stuff from Daytona, that'll be
we'll have stuff from Daytona. Which
is perfect for the next bullet point because it was confirmed today that my wife and I are getting the VIP paddock pass. So we have hot pit access, which means at night, you better believe I'm going to be in the pit lane getting those pit stops with all those LEDs on the cars, and it's going to be really good. We're going to have hot pit access. I'm going to try to get as many photos with drivers as possible. My brother's coming doing professional photography. So we're going to have a butt ton of professional IMSA photos.
Wait, Sam's going?
Yeah.
I didn't know Sam was going. Okay.
Yeah. It was after my brother-in-law had bought your ticket. Sam was like, well, I kind of want to go. And then my parents were like, we have extra airline miles. And he was like, okay. So we're driving in. We're doing what I often do with you son of a gun. We're driving in.
Well, Nick, I go to college.
On Thursday, we're picking him up from the airport in Orlando and then going down to Daytona.
Sick.
So that all being said, Thursday is going to be, there are just some more practice sessions. So there's on-track action till like 9 o'clock. Friday, we're going to be posting from the live global reveal of the Z06 GT3R.
Yes.
So, be there. And then I'm going to, for the first time, make sure to
also, heads up, there's a BMW debut as well, if you care. Yeah, M3 CS.
Okay. Well, then we're going to be posting for
as well as probably the M4 CS.
Okay.
BMW
we'll be posting for that.
BMW hasn't confirmed that that's happening. They've confirmed that the M3 CS is happening, but the M4
confirmed.
But the M4 CS was seen on the Nürburgring testing with the M3 CS with equal amounts of camouflage. So assumed there will also be the M4 CS.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll be posting from that as well. And I will be rushing Victory Circle afterwards. We should have access to Victory Circle. So I'm going to try to get some champagne sprayed on me. I probably won't live stream. I'll probably just video, and then we can go through and edit the stuff and make videos from that. But I'm going to pass it off to Ben Walther for any final thoughts or requests from what he wants me to give him from Daytona that is not merchandise, because we're on a budget. So,
well, I will apply the same rule to you that I will apply to all of my friends when I go to Le Mans.
Off the top.
When I go to, I will apply the same rule for when I'm going to Le Mans, which is Venmo me first, and then I will acquire you merch. So if I want anything, I will Venmo you first, and then you can acquire merch.
Yeah, guys, just look forward to it. This episode, depending on when Ben edits it, will be live
Now.
before I'm actually there.
It will be live before you're there. I'm going to start editing it tonight, probably, because thankfully this is a bit of a shorter episode than last time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to edit it tonight and tomorrow between classes, and then after school if I have to.
Ben and I now have a class together, which is...
Oh my gosh, Nick and I have class together.
It's
so excited. We're not going to get anything done.
Does your impact statement have to do anything with cars?
Yeah, all of it.
Okay, I'm going to have to go read it then.
Well, dude, that's how I knew that it was you, because I was
So for those of y'all that don't know, Ben and I both go to the same university, and he texted me,
Yeah.
like, are you in this particular time specific class? And I was like,
right.
Yeah. Well, and I thought, oh, he'll see my name, and I thought to myself, no, it was definitely my impact statement.
Well, because here's the thing, is I was like, well, okay, he's probably the only Nicholas Patty here, but there's also like 30,000 people here, so there might be another Nicholas Patty. I don't know. And then I read it, and like I saw the word car. Like I didn't read through all of it. I just saw like I read the first sentence, and I was like, yeah, that's Nick. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, if you've made it this far in the video or in the podcast in general, because you're listening on one of the many platforms, whether that's Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Pandora, Apple, Google Podcasts, all of the above, anywhere you find your podcasts, that's where we are. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, like Nick said, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, please give this video a like, share the video, all those things. I put in way too much time into these, so please like them.
Please, I'm begging.
Please, I'm begging, please. Wow, that totally threw me off. I was on a roll. So if you've made it this far, thank you. Please do all the things. Please like, subscribe. If you're listening to us on one of the multiple platforms that we are on, please follow the podcast. Please give us a rating. Please give us a review. It really helps us bring more good content to you. And as always, thank you for listening and watching. This has been episode 31 of The Clutch Dump. We'll see you next time.